Hey, welcome back to Road to the Rate. I'm Connor McKnight, field reporter for the White Sox on CHSN. And if it's your first time listening to the podcast, this is all things player development here in the White Sox minor league system. Our first episode is out. Paul Яниш, director of player development, was on that show. If you want to get a sense of what we're doing here, go listen to that one. Just listen to it regardless. On this show, we're twice a month. On this show, we're going to talk to two players who have been tearing it up for the White Sox in the minor leagues. And this is not the intent. We don't always get teammates on the show, but as it happens, there are two Kannapolis cannonballers that are playing really good baseball toward the end of May and now into June. Grant Umberger, a lefty pitcher who is now in the rotation and pitching his brains out. I mean, this guy, he's really been good. He's a 1.80 ERA. He's going to join us first. Our second guest is an outfielder for the Cannonballers, George Wolkow, one of the top prospects in the White Sox organization. 6'7", lefty swing with all kinds of power to dream about. He's been hitting exceptionally well in June, really putting things together. So how did both players get there? What development tips and tricks have they gotten along the way to get this kind of performance? Well, that's all coming up on Road to the Rate. Stay with us. Grant Umberger is next. All right, so joining us on Road to the Rate is Grant Umberger. And you may not have heard about Grant Umberger, but you better get educated. Grant, appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks so much. How have the last couple of weeks been, man?
They've been good, steadily moving into a starter role and just been balling. It's been a lot of fun.
Let me catch White Sox fans up with where your last couple of weeks have been, because I know you're not the one to just flash the stats in front of everybody. So I'll do the work. You have won each of your last 4 outings, 25 innings of work, a .36 ERA in those 4, and whenever it starts with a point, it's good. 29 strikeouts, 4 walks, only 1 earned run against the River Dogs. What's up with that? I don't what's the deal? Since going into the rotation at the start of May, your ERA is $1.10, and since starting in Kannapolis, where you did not start this year, 45 innings, a 180. What's working well for you, dude? Like, how has this gone? Where did you come from? And how confident are you with what you're dealing with right now?
No, I would say I'm pretty confident with how everything's working right now. But yeah, no, it was just, I guess, kind of struggled a little bit in spring training, and then finally had that one outing where I was like, all right, I'm not, bad at baseball, and then just kind of roll with that.
What was for you come out of spring training, you struggle a little bit, and this is your first year in the White Sox system, undrafted and signed as a free agent. You get, and I talked with Paul Яниш a little bit about this conversation, you get told that you're going to stay in Arizona before you get your first minor league assignment. How was it to have that conversation? What were the sorts of things that you wanted to, and the organization wanted to work on with you before they sent you out to an affiliate, and what you wanted to try to get done in Arizona after spring training was over?
Honestly, it wasn't that. I kind of already mentally thought that I was probably going to stay, just because there was a lot of guys throwing well. I wasn't throwing that well. So I was kind of glad, because when you're there, you get the opportunity to work hard, do a bunch of stuff. Days are much longer in Arizona, I will say that.
Yeah.
But I was kind of expecting it coming out. And then the funny thing is I already had everything mapped out, and the minute I had it mapped out, I got shipped out to Kannapolis.
What did you have? What do you mean you had everything mapped out? Like, what were you set with?
They just kind of had lifts and everything, and then you gain the schedule. You're able to make a routine. Different. We had the MLB side of the training room, so we were able to use some of their stuff as well. So I just kind of looked at everything, kind of created my own plan with their plan, and then never was able to execute that plan.
That's so baseball, right? The minute you think you have something figured out, it's like, nah, go do this other thing.
Yeah. Just bang, on to the next thing.
So you go to Kannapolis, and I want to get into your college career too, and just kind of your journey, to the White Sox in the first place. But you go to Kannapolis, you are in the bullpen for a little while before, like we mentioned earlier, getting into the starting rotation. What was the initial assignment in Canny? What did they tell you you were going to be doing, and how different was that from what your plan, was kind of when you got everything set in Arizona before you left?
I don't really know what the plan was, but knowing like my first couple outings, it was like it would hit the fan and I would go in the game. So I just kind of expect to be one of those, hey, just kind of get us out of a jam and then we'll go to the next arm type of thing. And I guess pitched well enough, then pitched well and efficient and started to just get more innings with it. And that if I had to guess, that's probably what moved me to the rotation.
So you started out at Virginia Tech before transferring to Toledo in your collegiate career. And as I'm looking through your numbers, you were kind of a, do everything sort of arm at Tech, and then Toledo, it's 15 total starts. When did this all click for you? You know what I mean? Like, when it seems like you kind of kicked it into another gear once you got to Toledo. What was it about your game, your arsenal, your delivery that was like, oh, hey, we're moving in the right direction here?
The funny thing is the stuff, it was definitely after Toledo, but that was more like the best place I'd say that helped me throughout like my college journey was I played summer ball in Newport, Rhode Island. And that place kind of would give me the confidence to play, like know that I was pretty good. And then my last year, like I got cut after my junior year pretty much at Virginia Tech. So I kind of went to Toledo just to be like, all right, one last year, get to play a bunch, like be a starter, pitch as many innings as possible because you never know how much longer you can play. And so that's what I did. And then I was like, oh, wow, like this starting thing, I can kind of do this a little bit as well as be a reliever. So then just progressed.
Is it like adding velocity that made things click? Did you get a little finer command and control on some of the stuff, or did the stuff just kind of tick up? Like, what did Newport help you with development wise that shaped you a little differently?
Newport was just like having fun playing baseball and like gaining confidence. Toledo, they helped me fill up the strike zone more. And then after that season, right before I went to the draft league, I got a changeup. And I'd say that's probably the biggest. Having command of a changeup, especially here, has been made it a lot easier to succeed.
You've just said the magic words that White Sox fans, especially those who are following the minor leagues, like we're listening for now, right? Like you've got Brian Bannister at the top talking about adding changeups to, I think everybody gets a changeup now. What kind of a changeup are you throwing? How have the White Sox worked with you on that change? And how much of a piece of the arsenal is that?
It's a big piece. It's probably one of the main things I throw to like right-handed hitters. And it's kind of like my own, it's that new kick change.
It is, okay.
But it's a little bit, it's not as like heavily spiked. Like most people have their like fingers very spiked. Mine's kind of just a little neutral.
Okay.
And then they've helped it out because I kind of didn't really have great command of it going into spring training. And then the pitching coach here in Kannapolis kind of taught me pretty much like the arm speed and then not really throwing it with your body, just letting the arm do all the work and just really hammering that away. And once it clicked, I've had really good command of it.
What does it feel like to have a pitch click? You know what I mean? Because so many of us watch and are like, oh, cool, this one new pitch got him there or whatever. But there has to have been a first pitch that you threw to somebody. Maybe you darted him. Maybe you got a huge swing and miss. Like, what does that do for your brain?
It's definitely, for the brain, it's definitely exciting. But for the body, you actually, for me at least, you feel nothing. Like the ball just kind of like, you throw it and it doesn't even feel like you did anything and you just see it move and like go exactly where you want. And you're like, it's one of those, wow, that was awesome. What did I do? type of things. But you just know like that was the right feeling, like the feeling of nothing. Like I'd say when you're a kid and you like barreled a baseball, it felt like you didn't hit the baseball at all. It's kind of like that same thing.
Yeah, I totally did that a lot. I barreled so many baseballs as a 10-year-old. I know exactly what you're talking about. So tell me, so you go through whatever session, bullpen or a game or whatever, and you have one that's like, oh God, that was it. The White Sox have obviously every baseball team has a ton of tech, all the kinds of like edgertronics and whatnot. Do you go back to coaches and are like, the 6th changeup I threw in the game, that's the one. Can I go look at all of this stuff? How do you go back and use the tech to kind of hone in on whatever that pitch was?
I'll look at like the numbers and stuff. It's not, you're going to have really good ones. It's more of how many are close to, I kind of put it in like, they have like vertical break on it. And like you kind of put it into like a 2 to 4 inch gap, like just making sure all of them are in that gap. Because you're never really going to throw everything the exact same. So you want it to be consistency around that. So like if I know like, oh, that was way higher, like I'll look at those. But if I look at all of them and they're within the range that I want, then I'm like, all right, it was a good day. You can still tinker to make it a little bit better, but you're in a good spot.
Do you, as you go through your starts, do you have a checklist, kind of like a benchmark level you want to have been at with the stuff, regardless of the outcomes? Like, are you kind of checking 2 things at this point?
Yeah, and like the thing that we check is it's like first pitch strike percentage, getting 2 of the first 3 pitches for strikes, like leadoff outs, and then like overall strike percentage.
Yep.
And like those are kind of the things that I'll mainly look at and that we look at, because I mean the stuff's usually pretty consistent. I mean you'll know, like it'll blare out at you if it's like, oh, this was pretty bad today. But when those numbers are taken care of, usually the stuff will follow with it.
See, now we're talking my language. I get the feeling of, oh God, everything was really bad today on the field. That was terrible. How are you, the other thing about pitching is, we've got all the metrics, so we can do all the advanced dev and stuff. But at some point, you and whatever catcher you're working with on a given day has to read the swing of the hitter, right? And it's such a huge piece of getting outs, of pitching around lineups. How do you feel about reading swings of opponent hitters right now? Who's helping you work on that? What sorts of things have you picked up along the way that have helped you kind of identify, oh yeah, that guy took a crappy swing at this fastball away. I can now, come back at him with whatever this is.
Yeah, it's definitely always a feel thing. I put a lot of trust into the catcher each day. Like, I believe that, they've been doing a really good job as well. But sometimes you'll throw a pitch and you can just see in the swing, like he's not comfortable with that pitch, or he's incredibly late on that fastball. Like our coach says it's like, don't play chess when they're playing checkers. Like if you got them beat, just beat them.
What's next for you? What are the goals that you want to check off here in 2025? Got a lot of baseball to play here. The first half, although kind of almost done at Canny. Like, what's on your list? What's next for Grant Umberger?
Honestly, it's just consistency and going. I don't really look that far ahead. I just look at, like right now as a starter, it's just going from start to start. I kind of can't really control what I can't control. So I just know that I got to pitch on Wednesday, and then I'll have a bullpen on Sunday. So I just kind of go each of those days, and then whatever happens, happens. Just want to continue the success that I've been having.
Live in the moment. I dig it.
Yeah.
We got 2 fun ones before we let you go. What is your go-to fast food order? Like yeah, like the money move. This is the one that's always going to work for you.
I don't even know. There's so many places. It's more like what I'm in the mood for.
All right, I got you. What was the last one? What was the last one you went for?
I'd say that I usually will go to, like, we had a Culver's outside of the hotel that I stayed in spring training, and so I'd get a concrete mixer with chocolate ice cream, and they get Oreo and Heath bar.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a little funky, but it was pretty good. I randomly got it one time, like last year, because they had a bunch of them in Ohio. Yeah. I wasn't really familiar with them. And I got it, and I was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah, Culver's they don't mess around. They know what they're doing. Last one for you. We will also have on the podcast, and I'll peel back the curtain a little bit. We're talking to you first. We're talking to George later on in the morning, because I don't know if George wakes up before noon or whatever.
Yeah,
he's got to maintain that hair. What is it like having George on the team? Tell me a little bit about George Wolkow, and I'm going to ask George the same question about you, so know that that's coming.
Yeah, George is a great guy. A lot of energy out of the dude. Definitely a fun player to be around. It's nice, at any point you kind of always want to watch him swing, because at any point he can get a ball 500 feet. So, and then he's just an entertaining guy to watch play baseball.
We'll have him on next. You took it easy on him. I'll let him know. Yeah. Grant, thanks so much for coming on the show. Congratulations on everything so far, and best of luck the rest of the way, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, next up on the pod, George Wolkow. You know him, you love him, you've seen him at Sox Fest, you've probably run into him around Downers or something like that. He is well known in White Sox minor league lore and a top prospect in the system as well. George, thanks for joining the show. Appreciate it. How have the last couple of weeks been for you?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Connor. Great to catch up as always. And yeah, past couple of weeks been a lot better. Just having a lot of fun with the guys. I'm starting to find my groove a little bit at the plate. So obviously when you're playing good, baseball is so much fun. And so it's been good. Just enjoying it every day.
So I appreciate this about you. We had Grant Umberger on the show earlier, and I'm going to ask you about Grant in a second here, but Grant kind of did the same thing. June's been good. It's been nice. In 12 games in June, George, you're hitting .405 with a .490 on base and I thought I wrote this down wrong, I swear to you, a .690 slugging percentage, 4 homers, 10 driven in. And this is maybe my favorite thing, and I'm wondering if this is yours at this point. In 12 games, you have 6 strikeouts and you have 5 walks. You are right there. What do you like most about the last 2 weeks from the numbers I just gave you?
Yeah, I'd say probably the RBIs, just because the past 2 weeks we've been closing in on a potential playoff berth, and how we finished last week definitely is not going to help us out in the next 3 games that will determine it. But I think just being able to drive in some runs and help the team win, probably my favorite thing. Obviously it's nice to start seeing the slug, seeing the average go up, and all of that. But I think like timely hitting wise, just, definitely nice to get hot right now in a moment where, the team needs it.
So the idea, I love that, first off. Mm-hmm. The idea of the podcast is about player development, right? And I want to get into, the swing and the things you've been working on and stuff. But timely hitting is its own thing, right? I mean, it's a different mindset. You got to know it's there. What, in terms of coaching points, have you heard from guys over the last, I don't know, call it 6-8 months or whatever, about timely hitting? What sorts of things do you think about development-wise when you step in with runners on in a big spot?
Yeah, for me, it's just making the right decision and executing on that pitch. And so a lot of that kind of comes down to not really trying to search for power or not going up there looking for the slug. But with runners on base, making sure I'm making the right decision. And if I can make good decisions, lay off some of the nasty breaking balls or some of the pitcher's pitches that I know that I'm going to have a better chance of getting a pitch for me to drive, do damage on. So for me, a lot of that has just came down to approach and swing decision. And I think that if I can make the right decisions, I can give myself a chance to get a better pitch to hit in the zone. And then the rest is up to me.
So I'm thinking about you from an opponent pitcher's standpoint, because some of the things, not chasing slug, right? That all makes sense. You step into the box, you're 6'7", you're left-handed, which scares the bejesus out of right-handers at single A, right? You have to know in your own head that the slugging percentage is going to come from your natural swing. Chasing it seems like a fool's, how do you balance that out, knowing that you can do a lot of damage to a baseball, but if you're overdoing it, you're just going to get spin?
Yeah, I mean, less is more. I think almost like starting the year, just making more contact. It's almost like I was kind of then trying to chase that slug or add to it a little bit. So I think it's really just as simple as going up there, being stubborn with my approach, stubborn with my plan, and just not trying to add any extra effort. I think, go up there, be simple, be calm, kind of just let the pitcher pitch to me, and trust that when I make contact with it, that's all I need. And, I don't need to go up there and swing extra hard to try to drive it out of the ballpark.
What sorts of things are in your plan as you step in? Obviously, don't give me the scouting report on the guy you're going to face tonight or anything like that. But like, what sorts of things go through your brain when you're facing a right-hander versus a left-hander and step in and going, okay, all right, George, here's what we're doing in this plate appearance. This is what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, I think use the data that we have available, which at this level is not the most, but for some guys, we got a good amount of data. And so I think use the data that I have and be able just to go in with a plan on, what pitches I'm looking for and where he throws them. And so they break it down nice for us. We could see where a lot of hitters do damage against a certain pitcher. So, if most of the damage done is inside, then I know I got to set my sights a little bit out and above that if the pitch is going to be coming into me, vice versa. And so I think for me right now, just stepping in the box, really just know what pitches he throws the most and what the hitters are hitting the best off of. And so, if it's a fastball slider guy and they're slugging over 400 on the slider, then I know that if I miss my one heater in the AB or if he's not throwing me the heater, then, know where to look for that slider because it's a pitch that, I can handle. And so I think just really trying to break it down into, how the pitcher is going to attack me, but also knowing at this level, like not a lot of guys have the, command of a double-A, triple-A, big league arm might have. And so some guys might, be trying to throw the slider back foot, but, can't do that 5 out of 10 times. And so it's like, I think just really trying to dumb it down, make it as simple as possible, go up there, stay on one pitch, and really just try to hunt my zone. And that'll help a lot with the chase and the decision making.
So I know a lot of White Sox fans know your story, and everybody who came to Sox Fest kind of heard about it. We talked about it. Mm-hmm. You're reclassified in high school. You are super young for your level, even though you're at Canny for a second go here for a little bit of Kannapolis last year. Mm-hmm. Where you came in this offseason looking at White Sox coaches and development staff going, I want to add more contact to my game, right? Like that's the thing you were looking to fix. How has that journey gone here? Because if you look at the batting averages in the first month and second month and now in June, the 490 thing we're talking about, things have gotten better, but there were some struggles early on. So what was it like kind of adapting, whatever plan you guys came up with to add more contact, and how have things altered here over the last, let's call it, month and a half?
Yeah, I think honestly, from now to looking back at the start of the year, it's kind of like a mix of just getting back to my strengths. I think, I work all off season in the fall out in instructs, and then in the camps before spring training, leading into spring training on improving that and being a more well-rounded hitter, a guy who could handle all pitch types and do damage on breaking balls, not just fastballs. And so I think leading into the season, it was almost like I feel like I didn't get back to the trust in my strengths, and so I think over the past couple of weeks, it's been understanding like, look, like I made contact now, like it's not as much of a problem as it was last year. And so how am I going to take that and turn it into the hits, turn it into the home runs? And so I think like for me, it's been just trusting the fact that, I could stay on a lot more pitch types. I'm not swinging and missing as much. And so I don't need to swing and at every pitch. I don't need to put every ball in play. And so, if I'm getting a slider first pitch and I'm seeing it and I'm swinging at it and I'm making contact with it, but, maybe I line out or maybe I miss it and fly out. It's like, is that really what I want to do in the first pitch of the AB? And so I think just, getting back to my strengths in a sense of, looking for my pitch in my zone and being stubborn around it. And I think that recently it's been a lot better at the plate, just being more calm, more patient, having more confidence within myself so that when I do get that pitch, I don't miss it. I think, yeah, simple as that.
One of the things, George, that we've talked about a lot with the White Sox at the major league level over the first little bit has just been swing decisions and how really good the roster is at making their swing decisions. It's one thing, it's interesting you point this out, it's one thing to swing at the right pitches. It's another thing to do damage on those pitches, right? Because if you're, like you said, you're just going to line one out to the shortstop, or let's say you're going to roll one over or something like that, but you're swinging at a pitch you want to swing at, we're not really producing here. We're not driving in runs. How have you begun to bring those swing decisions together with putting that right swing on the baseball?
Yeah, I think, that's something that the organization holds a lot of value in is, decision-making skills. And so I've always had the power skill, the contact skill wasn't that great last year. The decision-making skill wasn't that great last year. And so for me, it's like, if I'm breaking it down to 3 categories, those are the 2 categories I need to improve on. And so, contact, I could do a lot of drill work and stuff to help my bat to ball. And then in the box, I think it's more just simplifying things that helps that. And so decision making, it's like, if I can make good decisions, it only helps with my contact and power. And so I think for me, it's been just, coming back to what pitches do I want in certain counts, and where's the pitcher looking to throw them? Where do I want to hit them? And so it's like, for me, understanding that, the pitcher's going to make a good pitch every AB, he's going to make a mistake, and umpire's going to have a pitch to make a decision on. And so it's like, if I can be stubborn and really just hone in on my zone and be confident within it, then when I get that pitch, I'm hopefully not going to miss it. And so, yeah.
We talk a lot about development on the offensive side, obviously, because, knocking something 450 is a ton of fun, I'm sure. How's defense coming? You look through your game logs, and I think this is a credit to you. I hope you take this that way. I see a lot more center field in there than I kind of thought that I'd see when we all left Arizona and went to our respective spots. How, left, right, and center for George Wolkow. Did you expect that coming in? How has the defensive development been going for you?
Yeah, I think that's something that I brought up. Just in talks with player development, that, I'm open to playing all 3 positions. Like, I want to go out and play center. I want to be challenged. And so I think that's something this offseason that I took pride in, just, making sure that I was building my body in a way to go out and be able to play center field where I'm not a liability out there, and I can actually, help the team. And so that's something that, throughout the fall and throughout spring, get a lot of innings in those games, the scrimmage games that, don't quite matter as much. So it's, mistakes aren't as big of a deal in some of those games. And so it's easy to go out and work on a position that, I didn't get to play as much last year. And so I think coming into this year, it's, I'm grateful to have, Chad trusts me out there in center, and obviously the development staff is letting me get some innings out in center, and I love it. I think it's so much fun to go out and command the outfield. You get more room to run around, and it's been great being able to go out there and just one, just play center in itself, but 2, actually try to be successful out there in a way to help the team, take away some hits, stop the run game, etc.
Does playing center help inform or make you a little bit better on the corners? Because you're playing left, you get a lefty or righty, it's going to slice or draw one way. Same thing out and right from the other side. Center field, you're going to see a totally different mix of spin on that baseball. I'm wondering if one kind of helps in the other spots too. Yeah,
I think so. I think for me, I'm not in center every game, so I don't get to see a lot of our pitchers out in center. So it's cool seeing some of our starters that we have from center field, just to see how their pitches move, because when I'm in right or left, I don't get the same angle. And so I think that in that sense, it could help just knowing, who we have on the mound, how their stuff plays, and, where the hitters are looking to do damage, where a lot of those balls hit are going to end up. Like if we got a guy throwing a lot of slow sinkers, slow sliders, the ball is going to be on the ground for the most part. And so, little things like that I think are cool, definitely. But also just like when you're in center, you can see path a lot more. When you're in right field, left field, you kind of just get to see the swing, the speed of the swing. And so I think it almost just opens up, different angles, different ways to see it. I think if you could play center, you could play the corners. And so I think it definitely helps me overall. But yeah, I think it's, nothing too crazy, but definitely does help.
2 last ones for you. I love the idea of seeing that stuff in center. That makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people kind of, that'll click for a lot. We had Grant Umberger on the show earlier, and I'm wondering what his stuff has looked like lately from you in center. I don't know if you've had a start in center field when he's been on the bump, but good Lord, is he pitching well? I mean, just every time out there, he's a dub. It's got to be so much fun to have him on the squad.
Yeah, I mean, when you got a starting pitcher that you can kind of sit in the clubhouse and know that he's going to give you 5 innings, 6 innings of, 1-run max ball, then it's like a very, very comfortable feeling as a hitter and as a hitting group, the whole team just going out there knowing that, if you only scrape across 2-3 runs, you're most likely winning that game. And so I think obviously when you have a pitcher like that, it helps with the team's confidence. But, I mean, Grant's been unbelievable. I think I might have played a 1 game in center when he was pitching. But, I mean, I know every time I'm out there, it's like he's throwing invisibles. Just he's filling up the zone, throwing strikes, which is what you ask of a pitcher, but they're not hitting it. And so it's, the perfect mix of swing and miss and strikeouts as well as just throwing strikes. And I think that's why he's able to work so deep in the game, because he's confident in his stuff, fills up the zone, and they're just not hitting it. So it's been great. What is
the go-to comfort food for George Wolkow? You play a long game. It goes 3.5 hours. The whole deal. You got to get to the house. You got to eat, but you got to shut it down. What's the move?
Yeah. Recently, like coming out of spring training, I was living with Jacob Burke, who's an outfitter we have in 𝗶𝗶𝗟, and me and him were just cooking up just a pound of ground beef, mix it up into like 4 little patties.
All right.
And then put like some butter in there while we're cooking it, get it nice, good little sear, and then stack all 4 of them on top of each other, but put a slice of cheese in between, just American cheese,
all right.
And then put maybe some like some sort of burger sauce, whatever we're feeling that day. Could just be ketchup, a little Thousand Island, kind of like basically just making little smash patties, and
all right.
That's kind of been the comfort meal, I guess you could say. Very easy to make, good in protein. And it tastes good.
Watching those macros. I don't know what that means, but I see it all. You got to watch the macros, I guess. I don't really know.
Watching the macros.
That's right. We're going to put the lower third right there. That'll be watching the macros, the little end for this. Appreciate you, man. Thanks so much. And congratulations on making things work here over the last little bit. Like all the little changes are very clearly coming through. And I know it's got to be exciting for you. I know it's a really exciting thing for White Sox fans to watch here down at 𝗵𝗵 too.
For sure. I appreciate it, Connor. Thank you again for having me on here. Always fun to talk.
Of course, man. Good luck.
Awesome. Thank you.
A huge thank you to Grant Umberger and to George Wolkow for coming on the show. Best of luck to the Cannonballers and the rest of the minor league affiliates for the White Sox here in the weeks to come. Thanks for listening. I'm Connor McKnight. We'll come at you 2 weeks from now with another episode of Road to the Rate.